Hello everyone, welcome back to our first lecture video on the Introduction to an Embedded System by Abhishek Ammu. This lecture is very simple. I'll just only explain you about the examples and the typical hardware, which is your first two subtopics of your first chapter. Examples are very simple. It is like, say, you can consider a calculator as one of the most eminent example of an embedded system. I don't need to explain much regarding how a calculator works. It's very simple. Calculator is a device which performs mathematical operations. And these days we are even getting the scientific calculators because scientific calculators are becoming more popular because they have a very high performance processors. So that's the reason it is able to execute various complex mathematical operations. So yeah, calculator is one of the most eminent example of an embedded system which is used in the real life scenario. And one more example is the industrial robots. Yeah, industrial robots are of various variants in fact, and each variant has got again different functions. Say a few robots are used in manufacturing sectors, few robots are used for moving a particular amount of weight or a product from one place to other place, such that there are many robots and each robot has got multiple variants and each variant again performs different kinds of functions. So this is one good example of an embedded system. You can just go through these points, and even in elaborating your answer for different examples of an embedded system, these points would be really helpful. And one more important example is digital camera, because these days we are using digital camera a lot with their several features. But in the olden days, where mostly the traditional camera was used, these features which we are using now did not exist, because the current used digital cameras, there is some kind of embedded system integrated in them. Because in olden days there used to be a single, I think, Canon camera which has maybe a particular section of zooming capability, and it just captures the image how it appears. But these days we are able to blur the background, we are getting something called portrait, we are getting something called as studio effect, light effect. So it contains various components and mainly three functions. It's to capture the image, then store the image, and to represent that data. This is the most important three features for any camera. It's like you capture the image, then you have to store the image. Once you store, then only you can show it to, or you can represent the data, right? So again, digital camera has different types of memories such as memory card, DRAM, flash memory, controller, etc., etc. And yeah, you can just go through these points because there is nothing much needed to elaborate regarding an example. But as per your mentioned textbook, I'd like to discuss about two good examples. One is a telegraph, and the other one is wireless barcode scanner. These two are in fact pretty much good examples which are given in your textbook. So, say for example, a telegraph. What is a telegraph? What is a telegraph? I'll just say a telegraph is a little plastic box. I'll just make it very simple. It's a little plastic box at maybe a height of 2 to 3 inches, about half an inch thick. Okay, so the you can see it, right? A pigtail cable on the one side of the box. It plugs into the serial port of the printer. So that is the reason it is called printer connector. So, and the other side, it plugs into the network. So on the left side, it plugs into the serial port on the printer, and the network connector on the other side plugs into the network. So you can, obviously a telegraph must receive data from the network, right? And it should copy it onto the serial port. But however, it is not very easy as I say, because telegraph is somewhat more complicated than what we are thinking. I'll just tell you three good points if you can just make a note of these 3 points, what a telegraph must do. Firstly, on the network, right? On the network, the data sometimes arrive out of order, or sometimes data might get lost, and some of the data sometimes might be duplicated. That is, it can arrive twice, thrice, the same data coming again and again. So telegraph must sort out on the network, and it should provide a clean data stream to the printer. So this is one of the most important points. It should provide a clean data stream to the printer. That is, it should take care of the duplication. It should make sure that the data is not lost, and it should make sure that the data is arrived in sequence or arrived in a sequential order. This is one of the most important point. And the second point, because in a particular network there might be a lot of computers, right? So all these computers might want the printer at the same time, but the printer expects to be plugged only into a single computer. So that telegraph must feed the printer only one print job at a time. And somehow, if once it is assigned only one print job, it's common sense that the remaining all computers are put on hold. So this is the second important point. And say for example, let me consider network printers. Okay, they must provide the status information. Just make a note of it. They must provide the status information to any computer which is on the network that requests, even if they are busy printing a job for some other computer. Okay, the original serial port printer can't do this. It can't, put a message or provide a status information. So the telegraph has to do this. It needs to provide some kind of status information. And in fact, telegraph has to work with different types of printers without configuration, and it needs to identify what kind of printer is attached to the telegraph. So a telegraph has to be able to figure out the kind of printer to which it is attached. I mean, these four are some of the very good crucial points. Just to let you know how a good example of an embedded system is. And the other is a wireless barcode scanner. This is also one of the good examples for an embedded system. You can just go through this. You can how it really works, right? So say for example, you have user pulls the trigger. So whenever user pulls the trigger, the barcode scanner activates its laser. So once the laser is activated to read the barcode, right? So once it reads the barcode, it sends the barcode across a radio link on the cache register. So across the radio link on a cache register. This is how a wireless barcode scanner works. One thing, if I can compare a wireless barcode scanner and a telegraph, the cordless barcode scanner has one problem that the telegraph does not have. So say for example, I can say the problem of throughput. Yeah, I think that is a good suggestion. The problem of throughput. What do I mean by throughput? I'll just get back to that point. So throughput is, say your system must be able to handle a lot of data in a very short period of time. It should handle a lot of data in very short period of time. So that's the reason I was telling the problem that the wireless barcode scanner does not have is the problem of throughput. So it does not have the problem of throughput. It can deal with large data even in very short period of time. So yeah, you can explore a lot in Google regarding a wireless barcode scanner. I mean, exploring in this particular example doesn't make any sense. But just if you guys are more excited to know how what is the inner functioning of this particular barcode scanner, then you can explore a lot. Yes, this is the typical hardware, a very important stuff. So the image which I've attached here shows the different microprocessors used in embedded systems. Zlog Z8 family, 8051 family, Zlog Z80. So in case if they ask you what are the different microprocessors used, then you can write these all Zlog Z8, Intel 80386, Motorola 6800 family, etc., etc., etc. Before going to the next slide, I'd just like to elaborate on this particular typical hardware section because, for example, I have an embedded system. So an embedded system needs memory for two purposes. One is for storing its program and the other is for storing the data. This is a very important answer. In case if you want to present it in your exam, you can just do it like this. You can say an embedded system needs memory for two purposes. One is to store its program, and then is to store the data. Right. So in a desktop, the program and data are stored in the same memory, but embedded system uses different memories because an embedded system does not have a hard disk drive. It doesn't have a hard disk drive. Sorry, that's a spelling mistake. It doesn't have a hard disk drive from which to load its program. Because in case if there is some kind of power failure, still then the program must be stored. Memory in the desktop, in general, the memory in the desktop, desktop system forgets everything when the power is turned off. But in an embedded system, it needs special kinds of memory that will still remember the program even if there is no power. Okay, I'll just tell you how this works. I'll just tell you in the next lecture video probably, or in the next chapter. So, one important thing you people need to keep in mind is even an embedded system does not have the following. One is the keyboard. Because some systems may have a push or push button for user input, and say for example a fan, you just turn on the switch, turn off the switch. You don't need a keyboard for an input, right? So that is a good example. And sometimes a screen. They have some many systems, especially in the consumer products. They have a liquid crystal display, right? And say a laser printer, say for example, commonly has two-line status display with 10 or 12 characters each line, right? Some may just have a light emitting diode. Say for example, if there are any cricket, guys who play a lot of cricket, when there is a run out going on, these days the third umpire just gives a signal using the red green light emitting diodes. The red signal says he's out and the green signal says he's not out. So they're not using the screen these days, at least for some kind of local cricket matches. They just say if team appeal for run out, the third umpire just looks at it from his particular monitor which is assigned to him, and then he gives the signal red. So he doesn't use a keyboard there. He uses a small switch or small push button, and instead of an LCD, the liquid crystal display, he's using a light emitting diode or some kind of uh, device. Next is a disk drive. So a program is stored in the memory, and most embedded systems do not need to store much data on permanent basis. So those that do these typically use various kinds of specialized memory rather than the disk drivers, because as I told, most embedded systems do not need to share much data, and they even some of the embedded systems don't even have the compact disc, speakers, microphones, etc., etc., etc. So one thing I would like to tell you is I would like to introduce some of the key terms, saying throughput. You can just make note of these terms. Throughput is the system needs to be in a position to handle a lot of data in short period of time. That is a throughput. Response, the system needs to react to certain events quickly. Testability, setting up the equipment to test an embedded software can be difficult. Next is debuggability. See, without a screen or a keyboard, finding out what the software or where the software is doing wrong is in fact difficult. That is debuggability. Reliability. It should be reliable enough. Next, memory space, program installation. So these are all the key important problems, or these are all the ones which you need to highlight or which you need to work on when you are designing an embedded system. I'll just repeat the points: throughput, response, testability, debuggability, reliability, memory space, program installation, power consumption, processor hogs. Processor hogs is computing requires large amounts of CPU time, can complicate the response problems. So even this should be taken care. It shouldn't complicate the response problem. And after the process hogs, the last one is the cost. It should be nominal. So just a brief overview is embedded system have a microprocessor and a memory. Some have a serial port or a network connection, example like a telegraph. So, and they usually do not have keyboard, screens or disk drives. So this is regarding the examples of an embedded system and the typical hardware of an embedded system. You can refer your textbooks, but what all points I've told you to make a note down in middle of the lecture, you can make a note of all these points, and the same you can put it in your examination as well. Okay, just revisit this particular lecture many times, because there are some good points which I've highlighted in between the lecture. So make sure those points are understood by you, and you can even replicate them in the exam as well. Okay guys, thank you. Have a nice day. We'll get back to you in the next lecture. Thank you.